of people, they get used to sort of like what they like. So they're like, okay, so they just use dumbbells. So they just use dumbbells to work out all the time. Hey, don't get me wrong, I love dumbbells too. But if you need to vary it a little bit, maybe you need dumbbells, maybe you need barbells, maybe you need kettlebells, maybe you need TRX, maybe you need BOSU balls, maybe you need medicine balls, maybe, right? That you need a little bit more variety, not like all at once, but what I'm saying is like a lot of people get stuck into what they're doing, and you need different equipments to challenge your body differently, right? So for example, chest pressing. If you chest press with dumbbells, that is very different. Those of you who do this know this is very different than chest pressing with a barbell. That's a different stimulus. In dumbbell in itself, your angle of your wrist will be slightly different from the angle of a barbell. The amount of stability and stabilizer muscles required in a dumbbell chest press is totally different from a barbell chest press. As well, if you then did a kettlebell chest press, that is totally different as well, in not necessarily where the muscle is still chest, but the location of the weight of kettlebells is located at the back of your hand versus on top of your hand. So those of you who are more well versed in actually building muscle, you know what I'm talking about. There's actually a lot of differences of what equipment you use. So those of you who are in my Muscle Accelerator program, you guys know this a little bit because you guys may notice like, oh, from Transformation to Muscle Accelerator, you might still have chest presses, but they've changed. Or I know for some of you, I've changed it to like, you have to do it on a BOSU instead, different things like that, because now we need to change the stimulus required for it, right? I think Laura, you've had some changes, and I know Kat, you have had different changes on chest presses and things like that. So, so just making sure you switch equipment. So one thing I want to say here is some of you might get too used to, machines as well. And I've had a little bit of a conversation on this a long time in another live. So I think people generally know like too much machine is not good. So making sure you're not just getting stuck into like those circuit machines, you're just going around in that circuit machine. You got to get out to the floor to do some free weights as well. Okay. So how many of you, if you haven't put below yet, if you already put it again, you don't have to say it again, but how many of you feel like you have gotten used to the same equipment? So put equipment adaptation, which means you've actually adapted to your equipment adaptation. Okay. So put below if you think you've adapted to your equipment and it's time to maybe consider changing it up a little bit. Number 4, 53 eyeballs. Hi. I always like seeing the eyeballs climb. It's actually a really fun game. Okay. So 53 eyeballs. So number 4, you're not maintaining proper form and maximum stretch in each muscle contraction. So what I want to talk about here is you may not even realize it, okay? I see this very commonly as a coach and a trainer, okay? Is people shortchanging their range of motion. So I'll give you an example. People say, I do a lot of squats. I do lots and lots of squats. Yeah, but your squat, if it's above 90 degrees, and I get it, knee issues and things like that can prevent it. If it's above 90 degrees, you're not hitting much of the back of your legs. You got to get below a certain range to be able to hit that. If you're like, I never can build my glutes, I can never build my hamstrings, maybe because you're compromising range. It's not just so I do squats, I do lunges, I do push-ups. Right, but do you actually do the full range? Another very common cheat I see is push-ups, right? I see lots and lots of people, and I get that's a strength development, but knowing that you need to work the deeper range is very important, right? And those of you who work with me, when we start assessing, I start talking about the depth of your push-ups and things like that, because you going a quarter down, you can do lots of push-ups, and this is what group classes are a little bit kind of not great for. You could have a great instructor in there though, who will help you with it. But with group classes, they just want you to grip out those reps of the push-ups. Like, let's go. And they hype. There's a lot of energy in those classes. Amazing. But man, your form is not there. Good luck trying to build some muscle there. You're going to do 50 to 100 push-ups, and the effect of your push-up is only equated to maybe 10 full push-ups. Isn't that crazy? So you work so hard in a class and you barely get enough muscle activation. This is so true. I see this all the time, Even when I drop into a group class and I look around, I'm like, oh, no, go full form, full range of motion, right? So you've got to get to the full range of motion. Now, sometimes it's really hard. I recognize that if you don't really know the full range of motion, it may be hard. And this is why I do think that you need proper guidance and coaching if you don't know. If you're like, I don't know, but I want to injure myself. What about if I overextend myself? Then yeah, you may need some technical coaching, but I'm just saying, this is a lot of times why people don't develop muscles. Like, think about it. Like, if you were, an artist, yeah, you're drawing a picture, you're drawing this beautiful body. What do you need to do with your pencil? You need to draw the full muscle line. You gotta work the full muscle line. If you just keep your pencil at the top of your shoulder, you're gonna always have this top of your shoulder. You're never gonna build your full delt line. You keep your glute at the top and you put your pencil there and keep doing that, you're not ever gonna build your shelf of your butt. You gotta have the full range of motion to then sculpt it, right? So this is what I see as a very, very common problem. And sometimes people don't know. So like I said, that or mirror can be helpful only if you know what you're looking for though. And I'll give you one more example because I see this really often. So squats are common where the range isn't great. Push-ups are common where the range isn't great. And another one is, as so many ladies on here want to work on pull-ups. Pull-ups need to be released all the way down. Okay, now I see tons and tons of people train pull-ups like this at the top. Well, of course, yeah, I can see you can do 10 reps at the top, but that's not a full pull-up. Neither will you ever develop that nice back line, the nice sculpted back coming down. You have to release the entire muscle line down, stretch it a full out without locking your joints. So make sure that, I'm not saying lock your joints, because locking your joints is hard on the joints, but you got to stretch the full range of your muscle without locking your joint. So this is something I see very common where people, like, they say, I finally can do pull-ups. I finally can do these things, but I watch their pull-ups or I watch certain things. I'm like, even if you can accomplish that, your muscle will never look great because you never hit the full line. So I'm hoping that makes sense. So I guess if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, wow, I never thought about that, or that's kind of new to you, I want you to need to work full range. If you feel like you actually don't work your full range, need to work full range, put it below. You need to work full range. Put it below if you think you can actually shortchange your range a lot. 60 eyeballs, yay, hello. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. So let's get to number 5. You confuse muscle fatigue with not breathing. You confuse muscle fatigue with not breathing. Okay, so look at this. Remember, training till you're tired or fatigued does not mean or equate to muscle growth. This is so common again. People are like, I work so hard. I'm like tired and I'm sweating. I work so hard. Great. Does not mean you actually are building muscle. Okay. Muscle fatigue comes from actually fatiguing the muscle. If you hold your breath, you don't breathe properly, and you tire out sooner, you're still not building muscle. You have to make sure you have proper breath, proper, controlled action. Laura, are you on here? Laura is in my muscle accelerator, and we always talk about her speed of movement. She moves very fast through her lifts, and I'm like, no, slow down. So muscle fatigue is not the same as just becoming tired. You could become tired from not eating enough, from just having a stressful day. You can be tired from just holding your breath. You could be tired from improper breath technique between your eccentric and your concentric movement, concentric being up and eccentric coming down. So maybe you haven't learned about the proper training methodology in that. And just because you're working hard does not equate to muscle growth. Okay, so this is really important to keep in mind. Yes, slow down, Laura. Yeah, I know you know that. So if you're not sure if you're training to muscular fatigue or not, and you're like, I don't know, I do train till I'm tired, but am I actually fatiguing the muscle? Put not sure below. So if you're like, actually, I don't know if I actually train to muscular fatigue. So here's the thing is, there's a lot of factors, but I always say like results say a lot, right? And Clarice is a lot about results. Is if you've been training for a long time, if you're like 1 month, well, you got to give it time. Even 2 months, you got to give it time. But if you've been training for a long, long time, you're not seeing results, it definitely means you're missing some things. If you're telling me you're training till you're so like tired and you are pushing hard, but no muscle is showing, well, something is happening here, right? You're probably not muscle fatiguing. You're probably doing some other fatiguing, whether holding your breath or doing something else, not eating enough, which is probably very common. So there's a lot of other fatigues that happen, but does not necessarily mean muscle fatigue, right? So don't know. Yeah. Okay, awesome. I see a lot of people are actually not sure if they're really muscle fatigue now. So making you guys think.